Welcome to the Conquer Risk Podcast. My name is Manish Kata, and with me this week, as with most weeks, I have Jeff Goodnow. What's going on, Jeff?
It's an exciting week. I put on a fresh, clean shirt that actually has a collar. Yeah, what can I do? Every once in a while, you gotta get out of t-shirt mode.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to keep up with the wardrobe. But, occasionally we throw in podcasts where we just talk about industry trends, what's going on in the world for financial advisors, news that's hitting the wire that could affect, your business and whatnot. And, as we wrap up inauguration week and get past the shit show that's American politics, we can get back to just focusing on, the business, our industry, and what's going
business
on.
Business at hand.
With that being said, yeah, exactly. Let's dive into a couple things that have hit our radar recently. I actually posted a tweet on this and on LinkedIn, where I took Barron Partners and compared it to Arc Innovation. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to prove a point about branding and marketing. There's a lot of advisors who push back on me, not only in social, but even in one-on-one conversations. My clients don't care. They've never told me in 20 years to produce content or any of that stuff. And it's just a great story because Arc and Barron Partners Retail, very similar. I think Barron's, last time I checked, had 46% in Tesla. So they're very concentrated, focused on innovation. But why does one completely trounce the other when it comes to assets and flows, when performance is almost identical, the thought process is almost identical, the over-concentration is almost identical? So why is that? And the answer is marketing, branding, and media. Kathy Wood, who runs Arc, to her credit, has created a monster of a machine. And it's not that Ron Barron isn't out in the public. I've seen him on CNBC and in the media. It's just that Arc is pushing the envelope. They're just doing a better job of putting themselves out there. Are you familiar with any of these? And I think you sent me the bad ideas report at first,
I did.
Right?
And I see. Here's something that I want to key in on. Like you said, no, you've seen Ron Barron, on CNBC and so forth. Okay, that's, in my opinion, that's a totally different realm than what a lot of what we're talking about, which is social media and other avenues, not sort of the traditional talking head with a fancy background and going on at 1:36 is my speaking time, right?
Yeah.
This is about creating, and I know we can put a link in the show notes probably for the video that they created, I don't know, a few months ago.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious, but it just absolutely smacks every traditional thought process in the face. And she got a lot of pushback on it. And I thought it was pretty funny, primarily because I think it's some irony here. The more you push back on, hey, that's just not right, the more you are actually fitting right into the very video that she created. So she's talking about doing, being innovative, being different, and it's a very sarcastic video. So, yeah, I think it's funny. And, it sort of goes into that no press is bad press concept. And, be real.
Listen, so I talk about this a lot. I talk about this a lot when it comes to branding. You take the Denver Nuggets play in an arena called the Pepsi Center. Do you think Pepsi needs to put their name on an arena for you to know what Pepsi is? No, but they do it anyway. It's called branding. It's called making sure that your brand is front of mind. And I think, to me personally, and people may disagree, but I think financial advisors need to embrace the fact that you are going to be a media company of some sort that offers financial advice, and to constantly put your name out there. We've beaten this drum over and over again. And so now I'm just going to post things where it comes true. I mean, Arc is a great example. I mean, yes, they've had phenomenal performance. Don't get me wrong. It's not just branding. However, when you compare apples to apples, they kind of take the lead there. So moving on, there's the next topic that has come up. You and I are both familiar with, not only because of the software but the broker dealer. What else?
Yeah, so
came
this
out
is pretty
recently?
cool. To Cetera's credit, they made a deal that that apparently, well, let's just say it took a lot of work and effort, lots of discussions over a long period of time to get Riskalyze to be part of, essentially embedded into their system for advisors. Now, obviously, for those that aren't familiar, Cetera has several different broker-dealer iterations, but essentially we're just talking about Cetera as a whole. So what they're doing is essentially they brought in the Riskalyze piece to make up for the fact that their current proposal system doesn't really tell the story of the risk side of the equation. And we've been very fortunate. We have a lot of good relationships with different Cetera advisors, especially there's a group of former foresters advisors that we do a lot of business with, and they've really embraced the risk story, right? As we have conversations with them. But then they'd go to run their own proposal, and it really didn't say anything about risk. So it's like on one hand, they're trying to tell a story. On the other, they don't have any facts to back it up. So hopefully this addition of Riskalyze will help in that discussion process for them.
Yeah, and I don't think it's one proposal over the other. I think the industry as a whole has all these different solutions. And so as a broker-dealer, if you allow 10 different risk software solutions to permeate your firm, you could get all 10 different answers. And for us, it becomes apparent. We have strategies that are a 55 at Riskalyze and a 90 somewhere else. And so the advisors are then in a bad situation where they're like, I don't, how do I allocate when I don't know, what story to use?
Absolutely.
So I think the standardization by using Riskalyze here is a good step for this firm. Right. I did some napkin math, and kudos to Riskalyze because it's the PR release was 8,000 that's paid for by the broker dealer. We all know if you do quick math, that's a big land for Riskalyze, and they're a friend of the firm, and we appreciate their branding. So I think it's a win for everyone involved.
Right. Well, in full disclosure, we put the Riskalyze number for our models on our fact sheets, right? So we're incorporating some of their information as well. And you're right. I think the biggest win is the standardization because, look, all of the different risk scores are different variations of science and art. And, having different ones for different advisors doesn't necessarily make sense for one single firm. Standardizing that definitely is, I think, a win for that entire space for them. So, yeah, and kudos to Riskalyze. I'm sure that filled up the wallet a little bit. So,
yeah, for sure. All right, what else?
So then, here's one. I thought this was interesting because, we've, again, speaking a friend of the firm, I mean, Jason Wink and Altruist, they apparently added a board of directors, a former Vanguard person to the board of directors and have taken an influx of additional monies and capital. So now this is really more kind of your animal, so to speak, because, Jason, but let's just talk about that a little bit.
Well, what's interesting is Vanguard never got along with custodians, right? Because custodians charge funds a fee to be on the platform. Vanguard would always refuse to pay it. And if you refuse to pay any type of fee, then they put you as transaction fee or they don't add you. And Vanguard has always been a disruptor in that space, and they opened their own RIA custodian. So it's kind of, I guess, comical now that Vanguard is now going to Altruist because Altruist is similar, a disruptor in that space. I think it's a really good move, to add someone to the board of that breadth that has that background. Because I tell you what, I mean, just from scanning social media and the different folks I follow, service across custodians has become horrendous. Yes. I mean, just the other day, a buddy of mine is posting about, TD service and Fidel. I mean, I don't want to pick on one over the other. It's just across the board. It's just falling off. And you and I both know that that's just a product of scale. Right, it's just a product of growing too big.
Well, what I like to see in this process is, and kudos to Jason, I think this is just another example of, while on one hand we see these huge merger acquisition things, and we'll speak to custodians, right? There's big custodial mergers happened the last few years. It's nice to see a small firm disrupt the process. And that's really what Jason's doing in the custodial space, right? And they're making moves, making decisions, doing things that, don't fit the norm. And that disruption, I think, anytime you can disrupt an industry, it's a beautiful thing, because it makes not only that new disruptor successful potentially, but it also makes sometimes the big boys and big girls think, oh, wait a second here, what is it that we're missing? And just to that space, I mean, you and I have taken 3 calls this week from firms that are asking us what the heck it is that we're doing, right? It's nice to be in that spot and see other small businesses really disrupting their niche.
Well, the biggest hurdle, I think, is, like, think about it. We custody at Fidelity and TD. They have to do something really, really shitty for us to change custodians. Right. Like, advisors just don't want to change custodians en masse. Now, I can see something where they say, all right, for new clients, we'll use this custodian. But, custodians call me all the time, and I'm like, look, man, I'm sure you have a great product, but for me to switch everything, that's just the last thing you want to do. So I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle. But if custodians and portfolio management software continue on this path of my shit doesn't stink, I think Altruist is going to really win a lot of business, because enough is enough at some point.
Right. And I think, we've seen the trend is for more and more advisors, going independent. There are more small RIAs now than ever. And, to have for them to make that decision to choose a custodian, I think that's where, Jason stands out, right? It's an opportunity to make a decision as you build your business that maybe wasn't necessarily all yours. And again, that's not throwing shade on anybody who's working with a broker dealer or a larger corporate RIA. That's just what's happening, period.
Time out. By the way, it was your birthday recently. Happy birthday. But at your age, you cannot say throw shade.
Hey.
It's just not possible. Anyway, happy birthday. But what else? What you got the survey? You got a survey that you found that was pretty interesting. I was chuckling about this.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. This survey. Let me take a quick glance here, and we'll throw this up in the for those that are watching on our YouTube channel. The financial technology survey. Now, granted, this was in 2019, but I thought it was interesting because as I look at a couple of these numbers, the biggest sort of motivation of advisors adding fintech was to scale to serve more clients. 38% was the number for those that are listening and can't see the chart. But here's what really killed me. Improve client experience was the last on the list, and it was 1%. Now, I don't know about you. I've said this several times. You can't scale service, and I just find it interesting that so that's awesome to see advisors in growth mode, but it's like they can't seem to grasp that there are ways to grow while also providing a better client experience. These do not have to be opposing entities, which this survey shows essentially they are. I mean, why would you want to grow more and not improve the client experience?
Well, I mean, counterpoint. I think part of this is because they can't. Like, the fintech solutions right now for a front-facing client solution are horrendously horrible. Right. And so maybe it's one of those things where, look, I can't provide exceptional client experience, so why even try?
True. And sometimes it's a matter of and this is where surveys, right, you only get face value of what's really there. It may be that, okay, well, I need the fintech in order to make my business more scalable, and then I've got 4 other steps that I'm going to do by adding staff or changing a process or whatever to improve the client experience. And that's just not going to be necessarily referenced on this chart. But the fact that, again, it speaks to what you just said, right? That they're not going to fintech to improve the client experience. So, the portals and the this and then that and the other, if not done right, that's not what they're intended for, not what advisors were going to them for. And this is across the board. It's not saying just a CRM or a risk management tool or a whatever. Right? But yeah, I found it interesting that 1%, like there's one person standing out there going, "Hey, I'm doing this to improve my client experience." It's just kind of funny. So
what it said? What else? It said 3% to reduce paper.
Yeah, 3% to reduce paper, 3% to save money. I don't know about you. I've never seen fintech save me money. I'm sorry. That's a whole podcast in and of itself. But anyway, that's what we got. So that was a 2019 Independent Advisor Outlook study from Schwab Advisor Services and published on CNBC. So there you go. On that note, I think this is maybe a good opportunity just to before we hit recommendations to say, as a reminder, again, we've recorded every single one of our 74 episodes, some silly thing of our podcast. We've I have no idea. Recorded every one of them. They are all on our YouTube channel now that Christopher revamped that and set it up specifically for the podcast. And we're definitely getting a lot of people now, a lot of advisors are now going out to that and watching us as opposed to simply listening on the other podcast services. So thank you very much for that. As my friends at the Dry Campers would say, not only subscribe, but hit the ringy bell dingy thingy and make sure that you get a notification for a new podcast. There you go. That's an age-appropriate comment. I thought you'd like that. But anyway, I always laugh every time I see those are the guys that installed our solar and lithium on our RV. So there you go. All right, recommendations. Buddy, what do you got? Well, since it's end of year and we were doing some financials the other day, I thought I'd give a shout out to Xero accounting software is what we use. The downside is every accountant hates it and tries to get you to go to QuickBooks. But QuickBooks to me is I just don't like they get your paws in you. They don't let you have a lot of flexibility or take your data. So Xero, I'm pretty sure, is an Australian company that has started here recently, and it's just phenomenal. It's so if you like the type of software that allows you to customize things. It's a beautifully laid out piece of software, and I definitely would recommend financial advisors take a look at it. Yeah, I made that comment yesterday when we were looking at it. It's just I think it's cool to be able to see one. I click on it and it just follow down the rabbit hole to see what's there. Now, for those that are not necessarily paying a lot of attention but want to know more, it's Xero.com, not Zero. You got to love our English language, right? Xylophone, zero. How many ways can we? Marketing just totally screws up our, making things cute. You wonder why kids have trouble learning how to read. Holy Moses! All right. So on another note, let's. My recommendation is going to be a cool movie. I didn't. I just saw this a couple of days ago. It's called Outside the Wire. It's a new one on Netflix. And Damson Idris is I think he's a great actor. He's a younger actor. But the dude's talented, and he does a great job in this movie as well. And so to give you a little throwback, the first time I saw him in anything was an FX series called Snowfall, and it went like three different seasons, if I recall. Great. That's also, so once again, I'm kind of giving you a double dip here, both Outside the Wire as a movie and then Snowfall with the same actor as lead, for a series. So cool. Good stuff, man. Suspenseful, action, futuristic war stuff. I like it. Perfect. I'll check it out. I'm running out of stuff to watch. So, all right. Well, that's really it. We'll check back in a couple weeks with some more industry updates and trends, and try to keep everyone abreast on at least our thoughts of what's going on in our industry. Once again, YouTube, subscribe, please. We like it. Reviews, we like those as well. If you like what you're hearing and watching, feel free to reach out and offer any other comments. We're starting to get a lot more emails and comments about suggestions, so keep those coming for sure. We love to hear absolutely. From you. And once again, don't forget the ringy bell dingy thingy. Peace. All right, bye.